Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. I'm Brian, Mr. Smith Kitchen. And today I thought we'd make an interesting, simple, quick weeknight meal. It won't take long at all. It's a potato and hamburger casserole done in. I'm doing it in a cast iron skillet. You could just as easily do it in a 13x9 pan. Or if you have an oven-safe skillet, just do it in the skillet and save you a bunch of dishes, hands down. So, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you stopped by. I'm glad you found me. We have kind of a nice little neighborhood here. We try to promote, being a good neighbor, doing it right, and we do lots of things on the channel. Normally Wednesday nights, evenings, afternoons. It really, with a family of 4, videos will come out that day, but I can never guarantee a time. We do dinner together, and Thursdays we bake. I try to put videos out on Tuesdays. Those are the one day that if I don't get to a video, that's the one day it's kind of forgiving. And then we usually just talk. I can talk about things that you comment about, or current events. We really try hard to promote social equality, racial equality, and we at times do get a little political, but I try to keep it neutral on my end. I really just want to state facts, things that are going on. That way, you can form your own opinion. Everybody should have their own opinion. While I'm thinking about it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below if you would be so kind. Thumbs up, thumbs down aren't always necessary. They're appreciated, but not necessary. Comments, always welcome. And if it's something that you don't agree with me on, great. That's fine. Just please be respectful and think before you type. Keep it polite, is all I ask. If you're returning to my channel, thank you. I'm glad you're returning. I'm glad you subscribed. We've had a few new subscribers over the last month, which is pretty awesome. That means our community is growing. People are paying attention. And they're getting something out of it, hands down, at least enough out of it to tell their friends. And that makes me feel good. It means we're doing it right. Like I said, tonight we're doing a hamburger potato casserole. There's a multitude of options for this. I got this recipe from a lady named Miss Lori, who has a YouTube channel called Whippoorwill Hollow, and she is phenomenal. Her and her husband, Mr. Brown, great people. They live out in the Midwest. She does some canning, preserving, much like we do here. She cooks. She allows you into their lives, and that's pretty awesome. We do the same here. You'll meet my daughters over time. My wife, Chris, and Sarah and Abby. We have 2 others that don't live at home anymore, so may not see them very often at all. But that's okay. That's all part of growing up, being an adult, and in my wife's case, getting old. So, she heard that. But, well, I'm going to get the camera pulled down here, and we will get started on what we need for this, my version of this dish, which is pretty close to Miss Lori's recipe. We'll talk about things you could change in this. All right, so let me get the camera down for you real quick. Move you down. I am my cameraman, editor, producer, director, and all things YouTube videos. So bear with me. That was a horrible shake, wasn't it? All right, so we're down to the counter. If you are new to my channel, like I said several times, you are pretty much in my entire kitchen. The only thing that's behind you is a wall and a door and a window. They go to the backyard. So here's what we got. I've got one skillet. In this skillet, prior to it just being a skillet with a spoon in it, I browned up some hamburger. It's 1 pound of hamburger. Now, you could use more hamburger, less hamburger. You could use turkey. You could probably even use chicken. Completely up to you. But I didn't clean out the pan. I left the grease in the bottom of the pan from the hamburger. If you're using an 80-20 or a 73-22, 27, which seems to be the newest, not really healthy hamburger, but also the cheapest hamburger. Make sure you drain some of the grease off. You don't want all that grease in your casserole. So the first thing we're going to do with this is I cut up some potatoes. Now you can use any potato you like. she had used russet potatoes. And if you're going to use russets, peel them. I mean, you don't have to peel them. It's completely up to you. I am using red potatoes, okay, just like that. And they're anywhere from 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick, and I did not take the skins off of them. We like the skins, and these skins are so thin on the red potatoes and like the golds and stuff like that, that they eat well. Where I know russets are kind of a thicker skin, and they can be a little tough to chew, so to speak. But I'm leaving the skins on it. And even if they were russets, I'd probably leave the skins on it. I don't mind skins. I don't even mind peeling potatoes if need be. But all we're going to do is we're going to take these potatoes and we're going to line them in the bottom of the pan. And we've already got it naturally oiled. Now I'm using a cast iron pan. Like I said, if you don't have a cast iron or an oven-safe skillet after you get done frying up your hamburger, grab a 9x13 pan or whatever you have that's oven-safe, a casserole dish or whatever it takes. And you just want to layer these in. Not a big deal. You want to give them some room to kind of breathe because we're going to put them in the oven. As you're getting all this stuff prepped up, your potatoes cut up, we got some onions to dice, some garlic to chop up or pull out of a container if you get minced garlic in a container. You want to put your oven on 325 degrees, okay? That way, it can be warming up while we get this done. All we got to do is just stick it in the oven. So we'll get these potatoes on here. Get the last of the potatoes. Now, I cut up like maybe 5, 6 medium-sized red potatoes. They weren't ginormous, but they weren't baby reds either. But like I said, you can use any potato you like. Whatever you and your family eat is what you should do. Next thing we're going to do is put some salt on here. I'm going to say salt to taste because we're going to put a little bit of salt on every layer of this. And we're going to do the same with the pepper. Unless you don't like salt and pepper, you don't have to put it on there. There's no rule that says you do. The reason why we use salt, we don't use salt because we like high cholesterol. We use a minimal amount of salt to bring out flavor. Salt, especially kosher salt, which is what we use, isn't iodized, so it doesn't have all the extras in it, and it helps enhance flavors. So the next thing we're going to put on here is some onions. Now, I sliced up 2 onions, and you can put as little, you can do 1 onion, you can do 5 onions. Completely up to you. You could add green peppers to this. Or if your family likes spicy, you could put jalapenos in this, or, whatever vegetable you like, you could put in this. It's not that big a, there's no set rules, especially with cooking. There really is no set rules. And you'll find that if you're new to my channel and you watch some of my other videos, pretty much everything we get, I make is a base, for you to be able to change, adapt to, because even though most of, I'd say about 98% of everything we cook together on Wednesday nights is new to me also, much like when we bake. So that way we can learn together, try them together, see if they work, see if they fail, and if they fail, why. But it's always good to try it the way the other person makes it the first go around. Now I tweak this a little bit, but not by much. But that way you can see what they created, and then adjust it after that. Like if we like this and we make it again, which I'm sure we will because we like absolutely everything that's in it. I may add some corn to it. I may make this a breakfast casserole. You just never know. And then we'll just put a pinch more salt on there. Trust me, it's not that much salt. I probably won't use more than 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon of salt. About 1/4 teaspoon of salt altogether. But you want to, especially with the onions, you'll want to get that salt in there to help pull out all the juices and the flavors of it. So we've got our potatoes in there, we've got our onions in there. The next thing I'm going to put in here is some garlic, okay? And you can use the jarred garlic, which is great. I'm using fresh garlic because I didn't have any jarred garlic. And I just minced it up. Well, by minced it, I ran it through my garlic press. I am lazy and don't have time to, well, I do have time, but I don't really have time to waste sitting here chopping up garlic and making my hands even stickier than they're going to be. So I just go ahead and run mine through my garlic press, and that way it's already minced for me. All right, so we got that on there. Next thing we got to do is take our poundo hamburger, and we're just going to spread it on there. Sprinkle it on. So that way it's good and even. Now, this will probably feed us twice. Most of the things that we cook on Wednesday nights for dinner, there's always leftovers. And it'll be something that me and Chris or the kids can eat the next day. Or the day after. I know in our house, and maybe it's something you do in your house too, we have leftover night. And what we'll do is, when me and Chris cook for the week, we'll cook 3 or 4 meals throughout the week, and then we'll have a leftover night. That way we get to use up all the leftovers. I mean, most stuff will last at least 4 or 5 days in your fridge. And that way nothing goes to waste. Any food scraps we have, if they're vegetable scraps, I save them, put them in a baggie in the freezer, and then I take geez, Pete, I lost my train of thought. I take my vegetable scraps, put them in a baggie, stick them in the freezer, and then when I collect enough vegetable scraps, I add them to chicken broth when I make chicken broth, or I make veggie broth out of them. That way I don't have to fuss with that. The only broth I don't make myself is beef broth, and that's for twofold. A, most of the things you use for beef broth, we just don't buy. B, beef is really expensive right now, so we're really limiting on what kind of beef products we get. Chicken's expensive too, but not nearly as much. All right, so we are at potatoes, onions, garlic, salt and pepper, hamburger. Now I've got about 2 cups of cheese-ish. I mean, you can use a little, like I said, little as much as you want. But we're going to sprinkle some of this cheese on the top, maybe half or so of the cheese we got. Like such. And then we're going to do something really cool. All right, so in this jar, I have 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. In this jar, I have about what would be the equivalent of half a soup can of beef broth, or in this case, a cup. A cup's worth of beef broth. And I'm just going to pour that in there. Now, I use Better Than Bouillon beef broth, which is a concentrate. And but you can use beef cube if you buy the containers, the quart jars of beef broth. You want about a cup's worth of beef broth. You can add more or less. Now I'm just going to shake this up because we want to mix this up. So we're kind of making soup with beef broth, which will make this cream of mushroom soup really rich. All right, so we got that. Then I have some leftover mushrooms from the other night, so I'm just going to dump those in there also. Not necessary, but why let them sit in the fridge if we can put them in the cream of mushroom soup? And then we'll just if you don't have a jar, just use a bowl to mix it up with. I've got lots of jars, and then we're just going to pour this over the top like gravy. Such. Got that going on. I mean, like I said, now she says this will feed 4 grown men, easily. Or plus a couple kids and wives. And I believe that. There is a lot of food in this skillet. So we got that going on. Last thing we need to do, put the rest of the cheese on there. And like I said, this is a base. While I was watching her video and kind of paying attention to what the ingredients were, she doesn't really give amounts because it's what you want in it. A little less garlic, a little more garlic. She even talked about putting paprika in it and all that stuff. So there's let's say you don't have fresh garlic. You can use garlic powder. You can use onion powder. I mean, you could use any amount of spices that you want, that you may like. But I was thinking, gosh, what else could I do to this? And we'll talk about it here in just a minute. But let's talk about what we need to do with that now. Because this part's kind of easy. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in the oven. All right, our oven's heated up to 325 degrees. We're ready to go. We could cook it hotter for a short amount of time, but she didn't, so I won't. I want to follow the rules in that aspect, but we're just looking to melt this cheese and get the potatoes cooked, because everything else is pretty much, you could eat all of it raw, but you want those potatoes cooked. So 325 for about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to shoot for an hour. I think it will depend solely on how thick your potatoes are cut. And, and in this case, I cut them in slices, much like she did. But you could cut these in squares. You could dice them. You could, the smaller the cut is, or the thinner the slice is, the quicker they'll cook. And like I said, I cut mine about 1/8 to 1/4 inch-ish, right around there, no bigger than 1/4 inch. So I know they're not going to take horribly long to cook. And because they're layered evenly, I know they'll cook evenly. So I'm going to start with an hour. I'm going to go with an hour. So when I come back, we'll take this out of the oven, talk about some things that we could maybe do differently to make this maybe a breakfast meal, or just some alternatives to a dinner meal. And we'll talk about maybe what you can have with it on the side. All right, I'll be right back. So we had it in the oven for an hour. We're done. We're ready to go. I do recommend, I did pull it out of the oven. Let's take a look at it. Wow, if I can get you down there. And there we are. That is what we look like coming out of the oven. I think it looks quite delicious. And that's my opinion at any rate. Let me balance you here. I recently, my new tripod that I just got for Christmas somehow managed to hit the floor overnight, and I'm not sure how exactly, but it broke my new tripod. So I'm using my old one, and it's a little rickety, so I have to maneuver things. But anyhow, not the point. So we pulled it out of the oven. I pulled it out of the oven just right before we came back, and it's still blazing hot. So with most things you pull out of the oven, you want to let it rest for a few minutes. At any rate, gives a chance for everything to settle down, and cool down enough you can eat it. If you were to try to eat this coming straight out of the oven, you would burn your face off or something. I don't know, but it would be really hot. Anyhow, burn your tongue. So you want to let it cool. Things you could do differently with this. I was thinking kind of in a breakfast form, instead of using cream of mushroom, you could use a white gravy mix. You could use sausage instead of hamburger. Or you could take smoked sausage and put it in there and still use the white gravy. Throw some eggs in it also. There's just 1,000,001 possibilities, not only with the vegetable choices. We could have put corn in this, green peppers, jalapenos, the onion, of course. Just about anything you could think of. Green beans would have gone good in this. Peas, would have been another option. Just along with the potatoes. Now, with this, as far as like things you could, side it with, you could do a salad, just a basic salad. You could do some corn. You could do some biscuits or bread. A nice bread, or just bread slices with some butter, which is what we're going to do. So, anyhow, those are some ideas that you could do differently with it. You could also do chicken in this, shred up some chicken and put it in this, and use chicken stock instead of beef stock. Use cream of chicken instead of cream of mushroom, or chicken stock with some cream of celery. And potatoes would have been pretty on spot also, I think. So, like I said, there's some ideas there to play with. But let's give this a taste, and we'll see how it looks. Let's go back down here, and we'll dish it up real quick. see what we can get into. Sorry about that. That's an old rickety tripod. I mean, it's not even really that old, but it wasn't very expensive. And it has served me well for over a year now. And we'll get into this. This is probably the greatest spoon ever invented. I think I've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again because it's really good. It's deep like a ladle, but big like a spoon. And it serves very well. We had no sticking to the bottom of the pan. We do have a little bit of juice down in here, which is okay. I expect that. Now, things you can do if you do have the juice in there, let it sit as it sits and cools a little more. Because like I said, I just took this out of the oven. I don't know if you can see it, but it is steaming good. That will thicken back up. Or you could ladle it out and put it aside, make some gravy out of it, pour that on top of it, pour it over some biscuits or rolls. Or you could just do like I'm going to do, and we're just going to eat it as is. But there's what we look like on the inside. Nice and easy. I think it looks tender and delicious. Hands down. And like I said, even with the potatoes and onions, choose your potato, choose your onion, how much of each you put in there, completely up to you. You know, there's no rule that says you have to follow a recipe to the T. You know, most recipes, especially in cooking, you know, you make it your own. You know, eventually, baking is a little different. Baking, you kind of have to follow some general rules. But even with that, much like canning, once you learn the rules and how things operate, you can do almost anything. You know, as soon as you know, like, well, especially with baking, as soon as you know what baking powder does and baking soda does and what the different flours do and, you know, how if you incorporate them in certain amounts, it does different things. Once you start to learn those things, then you can start to experiment and play. You know, it's like anything else. You have to kind of learn the rules and practice the rules for a while, and then once you do that, the ceiling's the limit. You know, the sky's the limit. There is no limit. But anyhow, let's give this a shot. Got some cheese, some onions, some potato, hamburger. It's really hot. That works. You need to put a little more salt in it, I think. But you can taste all those flavors. And with the potatoes, it'll be a good filling meal that doesn't cost a lot. You know, this whole meal, like I said, we'll probably get 2 meals out of this for 4. So we fed, 8 servings basically out of this. And I don't think it cost $10 to make. Potatoes are still relatively cheap. Onions are cheap, and those are things most people have in their pantry or in a cupboard. This is really hot. Put it down for a second. And a hamburger, a couple dollars. Well, in this case, 4 for a pound of hamburger, and garlic is $1 and change for several cloves of it that will last you a long time. So yeah, I mean, your cheese and your hamburger were probably the biggest hit price-wise. So like I said, for about $10, $12, you can have a lot of meals or feed a lot of people. So I recommend this. It's a good, quick weeknight meal, and make it your own. Try it, make it your own. If you do, let me know. Let me know if you try it. Let me know if you change something up or add something to it. Let me know if this is something you've been making for a while now and what you do with it, or is it the same? Either way, or if you didn't like it, if you try it and you don't like it, let me know. I'm game. So anyhow, tomorrow, we're going to do something really kind of cool. We're going to do a cake. We're going to do a classic caramel bundt cake. And I think it's going to sound good. I have a friend of Chris's had commented to her on Facebook that she wanted to know if I would try and make this bundt cake, and that way she could watch and learn how to make it herself. And absolutely, why not? A caramel bundt cake sounds delicious. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. Is we're going to make a caramel bundt cake together and see how it works out. All right. Well, we're going to go eat, and I will see you tomorrow for some bundt cake. Love you. Love you very much. I mean that with all my heart. Tell somebody else you love them. You love them very much. Make them some of this potato and hamburger casserole. You'll make a friend, I guarantee it. All right, so till tomorrow for bundt cake. All right, love you. Bye.